We will go on the record in the matter 23 CF 124, State of Wisconsin versus William Standiford. The state appears through Assistant District Attorney Kevin Schmidt in person. Mr. Standiford appears by video conferencing in custody in New Lisbon Correctional Facility. We're here today for a hearing because Mr. Standiford, you have written the court numerous times requesting that the court do a judgment or amend the judgment of conviction to lower the amount of restitution taken from the Department of Corrections. And I understand your correspondence that you have written to the court in that you only receive a small amount of money put into your canteen fund or your other funds, and that once this is taken, you're left with very little amount to be able to essentially pay for necessities such as toothpaste or toothbrushes and or anything else that you would like to get. I see that you have paperwork right there, and I'm not sure if you have anything else that you want to add or you want to state before I ask anything from the state and before we move on.
It was just paperwork that's showing what they're taking from me and what amounts that they're taking. That's what I was gonna address the court and show the court.
Okay, you can go ahead and provide me with your information.
Well, I just wanted to show that I'm a special needs worker. That's what I do for a job here. And I get $15 every 2 weeks. And by the time they take everything for restitution, they're taking 50% right away for restitution. So that's down to $7 automatically. And then from there, then they take victim witness surcharge, 25%, crime lab, DNA surcharge, another 50%. They just keep going down the list. And court costs, the next big thing I have after my restitution is court costs, which is $2,596. I'm just asking the court, when I'm released, if I can pay these things upon release, where I'm able to make some money anyway. I mean, $15 to pay for personal hygiene stuff every 2 weeks is all I get. I mean, and after they take everything out, I'm left with maybe like $2, $4 a month to live on. My family sent me money a couple times, $300 on 2 separate occasions, and out of the $300, I got like $100, $115 is all I got out of the $300 sent to me on 2 separate occasions. So I'm just asking the court not to make it so I don't have to ever pay it, but wait till I'm able to pay it anyway, if that's possible around.
And before I ask anything from Mr. Schmidt, you shouldn't be paying, or at least it's my understanding that you shouldn't be paying the court costs or DNA surcharges or anything right now until restitution is paid.
Right. Well, if you drop my restitution, that they're going to go right into the next one. Is what I'm trying to say. You're right on that they're not doing that until after my restitution is paid, but that's what they will be going into. So I mean, if you just stop my restitution, that's not going to really help, because then they'll start taking the court costs, and then and what they'll just go down the list, and each one of those is like 50%, for court costs, 25%, and then they just keep going down the list, and so just stopping just the court. I'm asking you to stop the restitution and any of the fines or fees maybe until I get out. So
right, but they should not be taking fines or fees or anything, or the DNA surcharges or any surcharges right now.
No, they're not. No, they're not, Your Honor. But they're just taking just to the restitution, and then I have child support that I got a hold of Minnesota. They dropped that down to $10 a month. But yeah, you're right. They're just taking it just the restitution, but that's 50% of anything I have sent in. And if you stop that right now, then they're just going to go on to the next one. Yes. So I mean,
yes. And I understand where you're coming from, and I can't do what you're asking me to do, and here's why. I'm going to have Mr. Schmidt, he's going to read to you, most likely, as he has his computer, the statute that prohibits me from doing what you're asking me to do.
Yeah, the statute you're probably referring to is 97320 sub 11 sub C. In 2015, the legislature passed a law that stated when someone's in prison, it's the Department of Corrections that has the authority to determine an amount or percentage reasonable for payment to the victim. So the court has no authority to reduce what DOC decides is reasonable. If Mr. Standiford would want to contest that, he'd have to do something with DOC.
Yeah, so Mr. Standiford, I don't have any authority to state that there's a stay on your restitution, or to say that as to any fines and fees or restitution or any payments that you don't have to pay anything, or limit it to just a $10 a month or anything of that nature. It's out of my jurisdiction and my authority. It's now in the hands of the Department of Corrections since 2015. Because that's what the legislature did in that legislation and that statute. So your plea is really to the Department of Corrections.
It doesn't make much sense, except you're the one who sentenced me to the 8 years, Your Honor. DOC has no say in that, other than now they do. Now they're saying, no, your judge says you got to do 8 years. Okay, well, why can't my judge, who gave me told me to pay the rent? I paid $5,000 to the courts when I before sentencing, and it's like, I don't know.
Mr. Standiford, Mr. Standiford, the reason why I wanted to have the hearing is so that you can understand that. And I understand your plea. I truly do. And I understand your argument. I have those same feelings. Why doesn't the court have more authority over certain things such as that? And there are other things that I wish that the court had more authority over, in which the Department of Corrections then takes the authority after a sentencing. Okay. I understand your frustration. I have similar frustrations, but for different reasons, because I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Standiford, because I don't think that you should have to go without having personal hygiene.
I can't live on $2 a month. I can't, and it's not my family's responsibility to pay my restitution.
I completely understand that. And I'm going to tell you, and I'll state on the record, that you were the one that did pay the $5,000 towards the amount of restitution that was ordered. And it was a high amount. I don't have the total amount off the top of my head, 17,000, or it was $22,700 and some odd cents was the whole lump sum of that restitution that you share as joint and severally liable with co-defendant Jamie Blackerby. And I understand that you said that you may not have known Miss Blackerby, or you may not have been specifically in cohorts with Miss Blackerby, but together this crime was committed together with Miss Blackerby. So it's a joint and several restitution owed by both of you. Honestly, you were the one who is getting hosed in this matter, if I can use the word hosed, because Miss Blackerby has not paid anything towards the restitution, and you paid $5,000, and now you are not able to survive or have certain things in prison. And I understand that you make a very small wage in prison. $15 every 2 weeks is not a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so all I can say is your direction is to write to and talk to the Department of Corrections and see if there's a way that they would limit the amount or reduce it from 50% down to maybe 25% until a certain period of time.
Well, how about modify my sentence to concurrent rather than consecutive?
Well, I can't do that, and you're not in front of this court for that issue.
No, I'm not.
So that's the only reason I had this hearing, was so that I can let you know that it's out of my hands. But I do understand where you're coming from, and I do understand your frustration.
Well, I don't really think you understand totally, but Mr. Schmidt seems to think it's funny over there.
I don't think he thinks it's funny. This is not, it really isn't funny. I believe that you work very hard at your special needs job. I truly do. If there was something I could do, I would. It's not in my power or my authority to do. If I could, Mr. Standiford, because I know that you are a hard worker, because I know that you're making changes, because I know that you're rehabilitating. I can see all of those things in the letters that you're writing to me. I know that you're working hard at your job and you're not making a lot of income doing so, and that you do need certain things while you're in prison. I understand that. And that's why I wanted to tell you, if I could do something, I would do something, but it's out of my hands.
Yes, ma'am.
So your step is to write to or talk to the Department of Corrections. That's the first step, and that's where you need to go.
That's a bigger bureaucracy and a lot more bullshit than I'll ever be. I can't even get through to the courts that sentence me, let alone to that bureaucracy of the deal.
Oh, you got through to the courts. You got through to the courts, but
half of you, like you're right, but there's no way the DOC is going to do a damn thing for one man. Wisconsin's got thousands of people in prison.
Mr. Standiford,
one little voice, William Standiford, complaining about bullshit. They're not going to do a damn thing.
Mr. Standiford, now I have to say you have to watch your language. You are in court, but
Yes.
they may, Mr. Standiford, you don't know. A lot happens with one voice and one request. And it's worth a try to write to the Department of Corrections. It's worth a shot to write to who is your agent. It's worth a shot. And or it's worth a shot to write to your agent and see if there's somebody above that agent who they can direct you to write to that person. And you have the time.
Yeah.
And you have the will and you have the drive.
I'm losing
It's
all
worth a
that.
shot.
But I don't have the money. I get $2. It's going to cost almost half of the money that I get to send a letter, because the stamps are 80 cents. Hello, that's nearly half of the money that I get a month, or every 2 weeks, to send one letter that's going to be laughed at. It'll take them 2 months to get me back a reply saying, sorry, the legislator says in blah, 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 that you guys aren't worth it.
Well, Mr. Standiford, I
tried.
disagree. I disagree with the statement that you said that you're not worth it, or that people in prison aren't worth it. I know that you may feel that, or you may feel that that's what some people feel, but I'm sorry that you feel that way. And I'm sorry that it takes a lot of money to send a letter. And now I don't feel so great that you sent so many letters to the court and there's nothing that I can do.
All right. I'll deal with it like I have this almost 16 years that I was sentenced to.
All right, Mr. Standiford, I do have to move on. I have a 2 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mogen.
Thank you. We are adjourned.